You can see me. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Got a special treat for you here with former big leaguer Billy Burns. Billy is a longtime friend, high school baseball teammate, went on to play college baseball at a pretty high level, and he'll give you a little more explanation on his path. Billy, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we asked our guys to submit some questions, and I know they're interested in picking your brain, seeing what things you did to kind of put you in the position that let you play at the highest level. For instance, one of our first questions is coming from one of our outfielders who's also a pitcher. His question was, what was your path that kind of got you to the big leagues? So you can start out even from playing before high school into how you got to the highest level. Just briefly go over that for us.
Oh, man. Briefly. That's a long story, but I'll try to condense it. Grew up just playing ball, like from the age of 4 on. I mean, just kind of had my background in baseball. I played football through high school, and that was really good for me too, just to develop strength and kind of a tougher mentality. But I always knew baseball was my path. So when I had a chance to play college baseball at Mercer University, I definitely jumped on it, got a scholarship, so was excited to go there and kind of pursue baseball. And after that, just kind of had it always in the back of my mind, like one day, I want to keep going. I just, there was never an end in sight. And so I just try to maximize my abilities. And then one thing led to another. You just play for each team you're on, and don't get too far ahead of yourself, and just work as hard as you can. And fortunately, I was able to make it to one of the highest levels.
That's phenomenal. Thanks. All right, continuing with Billy Burns. Our next questions come from Cooper Cross, which is one of our outfielders, who kind of has some questions about what you do in the gym and also what you're eating in order to maintain your body at the highest level it can. His first question was, what would you consider the best snack for putting on weight?
Oh, man, best snack for putting on weight? I mean, outside of like protein shakes and stuff like that, which I think are helpful, I've always had to really crush food. I've got the body type where it's hard for me to put on weight. And if I do, it's only like a couple pounds at a time. I'm like 170 pounds. But I'm definitely one of the smaller guys that I've ever played with. So like in between like games, like you just got to be crushing food because you don't realize the calories you're putting out. I don't know what position you are, but if you're a pitcher or even a position player, you're always running, you're always doing something. So, I mean, honestly, the thing that's in the clubhouse most of the time is peanut butter and jelly. So like I always crush a peanut butter and jelly, like when I'm starving or when I need like a little pick me up. If you feel yourself like kind of burning out a little bit, I would definitely say crush some food, get some carbs in you, get some like peanut butter or pasta or something, and just try to eat constantly, especially if you're a kind of guy like me who struggles to keep weight on and kind of get skinnier.
Okay. And moving off of that, would you say those are the types of things you would eat before you go to the gym? Or maybe you would do some kind of additional protein before or after, maybe some pre-workout even. What would you do as your approach to what you're consuming before you go into the gym?
For me, I mean, I was never a big guy that like did pre-workout stuff. I just only recently started doing protein shakes, which I think are pretty beneficial. But before the gym, honestly, I would crush like a meat and a pasta like a lot. I mean, that's me, my preference. Other people might do it differently. I would do like a big pasta dish, maybe tuna, maybe beef inside, like ground up beef or something along those lines. And I'll always just try to keep full. Like if I feel myself getting hungry, I feel like it's too late. Like I would just crush food constantly. People would make fun of me because I eat a lot, but I don't gain a ton of weight. So I may not be the best person to answer this question.
Oh, it's all right. I mean, you use your size to your advantage too. Guys, if you don't know, he's probably the fastest guy I've ever played with, definitely, and probably the fastest guy I've ever seen as well. He can track down balls in the outfield like you wouldn't imagine. So he uses his speed and also his shiftiness to his advantage like nobody I've ever seen. All right. So it's not just him trying to bulk up. He's seeing his body type and he's using that to his advantage as well. All right. What would you say, how much stretching and movement exercises do you do compared to just straight powerlifting when you're going to the gym?
Yeah, I think that's important. It's something I've learned later in my career too. In college, I pulled my hamstring kind of bad one time, and from then on, I kind of changed my routine. So before a game, for sure, I'm doing like a full calisthenic, like active movement, kind of stretch in the outfield. I'm an outfielder, by the way, and a base stealer. So when you don't get a hit the first three at bats, and then it's colder in the night, and then you're expected to get on your last at bat and steal a base, your muscles can be kind of tight at that point. So like throughout a game, I would honestly keep doing some stretches like in the field, or I don't know if you're a pitcher, like you're probably a little bit different story, but if you're an outfielder like me, then I would just keep your legs kind of limber, maybe do a little, high knees occasionally on your way out to the outfield, that kind of stuff. Just kind of keep your body warm. But as far as working out and stuff, I think it's important to do like kind of get the blood flowing first, stretch out, and then after your workout, definitely kind of just cool down and be stretching a little bit on the way down too, because one of the biggest things for injuries is just you get tight, and then your muscles, it's very hard to loosen them up once they're tight. And I'm very tight. So I've learned that later in my career, and it's definitely affected me. I've got some injuries kind of from being too tight. So I would say definitely stretching and keeping loose is just as important as weightlifting.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's something our guys can definitely use moving forward. They've put a heavy emphasis on that in our strength and conditioning program. So that's good to know they're getting some reassurance as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Moving on to on the field stuff for right now. What would you say was for you, the toughest pitch and the toughest location to hit when you were a batter?
That's a good question. I'm a switch hitter, so it's funny. It changed when I became a switch hitter. I became a switch hitter in pro ball, but it changed for me when I was just a right-handed hitter. The hardest one for me was like a good cutter down and away, like right on the corner, like bottom corner. For some reason, I just struggled with that pitch in college, like when I was just a right-handed hitter. Let me think. When I became a switch hitter, let me think. You know what I would say first, being a switch hitter, a good changeup, like that would come in looking like a fastball and just kind of fade off that outside corner. I guess the outside corner is, now that I'm saying it, is probably my struggle area, because I would always think it's a fastball. So you gear up and then you start your swing, and then you realize it's a changeup and you try to slow down. And by then it's too late and it goes off the end of the bat and it's a weak ground ball to second base or shortstop.
So I know me as a pitcher, I really wish I had focused a lot more time on my changeup, because as soon as I hit pro in college ball, I knew that was a huge struggle for me, and it's something I really wish I had in my back pocket. But hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Hear from the guy himself that it's the tough pitch to hit. Also, last question from Cooper Cross is, what would you say is the toughest pitcher you faced? Kind of throwing that in.
Man, toughest pitcher. There's a guy named they call King Felix Hernandez, and
I think we've heard of him.
yeah, he puts everything right at the knees, and then like maybe 15 feet right before it gets to the plate, it's going to do something else. So it's either going to go straight and be a fastball right at the knees, or it's just going to fade off and be like a cutter down and in, or because for me, I'd be facing him lefty down in, or it'll be a changeup or like a split. I don't know if it's a splitty or change. And then it will just fade down and away. Like he had everything working right at the knees, and then it would just fade or cut, or it would just remain right on that plane. And for whatever reason, our team, we always struggled against that. I remember I got a good hit off from time game. He left high, middle, up in the zone, fastball, and I got a good hit. And from then on, I think he was like almost perfect against our entire team. Like I made him mad. So like he left everything right at the knees, right below the knees after that, and we struggled.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. That's something we've been kind of talking with our pitchers as they get older, is what we call tunneling. You want everything to kind of come through the same slot and then kind of work off that, the last movement. So that's really cool to hear from your perspective as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Billy, moving on to the next question. It is, what would you say, what does it take to stay at the highest level, would you say? Is it more of a mental perspective? Is it something that you're doing in your training every day? Or would you say maybe even belief in yourself? Or is it going to be a combination of things?
I think it's a combination. I definitely think it starts with the mental because it's a constant job. There, people always look at the off season and say, "Oh, they've got like a few months off. That's amazing. You get a vacation for that long." Well, it's not a vacation. If you spend the first 2 months of your off season drinking, partying, and just like binging food, well, you're not going to be able to get back into shape by the time the next couple months roll around and spring training's rolling around. And like, I know a lot of you guys are God gifted talent, like, and luckily I was blessed with one thing, which was speed. And for me, like for my mental side of things, like to keep me at the highest level, I had to keep my speed up. So for me, I had one good tool, and it was my speed. So that's what I really focused on. I would say most of you guys have probably one or maybe a couple, or maybe if you're lucky, you got 5 of them, and you guys can really maximize all of those. But I think whatever you're best at, really become even better at that. And that will make you stand out, especially like when people are looking at you. But as far as like staying at the highest level, just consistency. If you're the kind of guy who's going to go out and like, you're like, man, I'm just tired of this, and you just want to take a break, well, maybe this isn't for you. Like if you can't just keep consistent in your life, in your regimens, in your sleep, in your eating habits, like eventually it's going to catch up to you. And that's the thing. It's like people don't realize how much of a grind it is mentally to be able to have that mindset to stay in that. And then the physical comes later, in my opinion, and you just follow through with whatever your dreams are. But man, it's not easy. So if you're getting into this and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be cakewalk, I've got God-given talent, I think you need to really take a deep breath and reflect from within, and just think, all right, what's it going to take for me to get there and stay there? So, and then just focus on that.
Yeah, it's kind of, you start to get there and then realize everybody has some God-given talent, right? What's
Yes.
going to separate me from everybody else, right?
Exactly.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, the last question we got for you, appreciate you doing this for us, is what would you say made your big league experience so memorable? Or what's something that you'll never forget about it?
Man, there's so many things. I mean, it's just one of those kind of moments, like when you get to the big leagues, you just think all the different places and tryouts, practices, games, all the different places you have been. And then you reach the big leagues and you're like, I can't believe I'm actually like standing here in these stadiums. And I think one of the biggest things for me is like being in a massive stadium. It's just completely different from anything I'd ever done. You get there, the lights are extremely bright. They're like fans everywhere. And you're just like, this is not how I grew up playing baseball. You know, you're just used to playing in travel ball or minor league parks where there's like maybe 50 fans at the best days. But I think the stadiums are one thing because the grass is always nice. The lights are huge. The fans make it awesome just because you hear the crowd, like when you get a hit or something. That kind of stuff is cool. Let me think. The other stuff is just the friends that you create along the way. Not only just in the big league level, but I think it's important to kind of keep those relationships going. I mean, look at me and Mark. We played Little League baseball together and high school ball, and we're still friends. And I'm friends with all those guys, or most of them, that I grew up playing with. So you'll collect friends along the way, and those are the memories that I really stick to, just like the bonds that I create with my guys and that kind of stuff. But one more thing, just as far as the big league level, what stuck out to me was the food. The clubhouse food, unbelievable. I mean, you got chefs in a lot of these places, not all of them, but a lot of these places are just, they got chefs for you. They're cooking whatever you really want that day, or you can request for them to go get you whatever you want. you pay for it, but yeah, the food is just unbelievable. So